Hello, and welcome back to LEGO Custom Reviews. So today we'll be reviewing Knull. Now, Knull is a very powerful character in the Marvel Comics. He is the god of darkness and creator of the symbiotes being Venom, Carnage, etc. But he is also the wielder of the Necro Sword in the comics. Now, as the Necro Sword is showing up in Thor Love and Thunder, I thought now would be a good time to review it, with Thor Love and Thunder soon about to go to Disney+. So, let's begin. Now let's start with the Necro Sword itself. The Necro Sword itself isn't great. While in the movie it appears just black, in the comics, while Gore has it, while Knull has it, it appears to be both black and red, depending on the artist who's working on the comic at the time. Now, they went for the red Necro Sword here, but I don't think the design works. In the comics, at no point was the Necro Sword a two-bladed sword. It always just had one blade in the middle. The hilt was also very different, and it was never really translucent. The red color, when it had a red color, was usually more of like the same colors you get with Carnage, the symbiote. I think it was a strange choice to go for the sword from the Lego Chima line, but it's still not terrible. It does fit relatively well with the minifigure, but I am rather surprised that they didn't create a custom piece for this when they did for many of the other figures I got in this collection. Now, I got him in a $40 collection of 20 figures on Amazon.com. So he was $2. So he's a $2 figure, pretty cheap. Now, he's a pretty good figure. He has printing on the legs, the back of the legs, the chest, the back of the chest, and both arms. So the arm printing is pretty tough to see. Now, he is one of not many custom minifigures that comes with two different faces. So we'll go over that in a minute when we go over the head. So let's first go over the hairpiece. Now, the hairpiece is interesting. I believe they made a custom piece for it, though I'm not 100% sure. Probably should have checked. But the piece works pretty well. This is pretty much what his comic book hair looked like. It's interesting that they kind of had it go off, not really connect to his back as well. So which I think is kind of meant to show it kind of floating a little bit and trailing behind him as it did, since he was so often in space and in the dark realm in the comics. As you can tell, I'm a little bit of a comics nerd. But now let's get to the face. This would be the most important part of the figure, usually. Either that or the chest, depends. But now the face, despite having a two-sided face, which is very good for a custom figure, if you look closely, which granted this isn't the best camera, so you can't look that closely, you can see a lot of the printing is slightly off. A good example is that you can see some of the white of the teeth underneath the lip piece as well, underneath the lip part as well. And some of the lines look kind of grainy and scratched on them. So while from a distance, the face looks really perfect. Up close, you can notice many small problems with it. But it does bear a very strong resemblance to his comic book self. The lining, again, being slightly grainy and scratched, is pretty good size-wise. It's not too large, which is often a telltale sign of a poorly made face piece on a minifigure. It goes into a lot of detail with some of the wrinkles and scratches on his face, and with the eyes as well. So the face is very well designed, but not very well made. Now, the other side of the head is it is equally strong in terms of detailing with all the lines, wrinkles, and cracks on his face, and with the eyes as well. Now, it doesn't share as many of the problems with the other side of the face. The lines seem less grainy. There's no parts where some of the printing was done on a section where it shouldn't be. So, this one is definitely better made than the other side. The only thing is it shows him with this weird look on his face, like he's kind of holding his breath. He looks like, which I don't get. I don't know why it's like that. Just kind of is, so that part doesn't really make much sense to me. So I think this one is very well made and still pretty well designed, but not as well designed as the other side, with the strange face of him seeming kind of, as I said, holding his breath, like. But maybe there's something I'm missing there, a reason for that. But now let's get on to the chest piece. So his chest is very similar on front to back. Here's it on the front, and here is it on the back. Very few differences to be noted. The only ones are some slight differences on the bottom here. You can, looking closely, you can see some slight differences in the detailing as to vis-a-vis how it connects to the legs. So you get a lot. So now the chest piece is good. It's very strong. Nothing really to complain about. It's well made, well designed. Looks very accurate to his comic book self. So I would, and it fit, and sorry, I should say it fits. It also fits very well with the legs. Both the front and back seem to really match with his legs. And speaking of those legs, let's get to them. Now the legs are pretty simple. I won't spend much time on them. They're mostly black legs, but with some designs to kind of show his robe, his kind of robe-like symbiote clothing. And it looks pretty good, relatively well designed. Yeah. Happy with it? Yeah. And the same goes here for his arms, which, again, I know I've got a bad camera, so you can't really see him that well, but are mostly kind of like bundled up sleeves a little bit, and also a patch on his shoulder. You can kind of see it at this angle. But yeah, so this figure was $2 on Amazon, but in a $40 pack with 19 other figures. I would say it's definitely a buy, this figure itself, and I would give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe.